Hello all sentient beings and welcome to Transmissions Alt Mode, where we talk about all news, comics, and media related to thee. On this episode of Transmissions Alt Mode, we are joined by Dr. Pants as we review Transformers vs. Terminator Issue 4. Renegade Game Studio extends its partnership with Hasbro, and pull out those finger paints because Hasbro has announced an official fan art contest. Today is Friday, October 9th, 2020, and this is episode 202 of Transmissions Alt Mode.
Welcome to Transmissions Alt Mode, the podcast that comes from the future to save the past. I'm your host Charles, aka Big C, and I'm joined by the excellent Transmissions team. Jeremy, aka Yakko.
Hey, how's it going?
Scott, the illustrious Dr. Pants.
Howdy, everyone.
And Daryl, the Cybertronian Beast.
Hello. Let's talk Transformers.
All right, again, we are back, and as always, we start off the show by thanking our Donatreons, those beautiful people who give us money on Patreon and PayPal. Thank you so much for your continued support. It really helps the show out. And a big shout out to Skert for switching their donation from monthly to annual. So they are a duly appointed supporter of the Transmissions podcast, and now they are locked in for a whole year. And we really appreciate it. Also, you get a discount for doing a yearly support subscription, so that's always nice to get a little bit back for doing that, so we really appreciate it. Another way to help out the show, of course, is to buy some merchandise from our TeePublic store. That is at transmissionspodcast.com/shop. You can check out our friend K-Girl store at tpublic.com/user/superstark. We've got lots of cool designs for t-shirts. We've also got masks. We've got other merchandise. Recently, someone put in a really huge order of shirts and other stuff, so we really appreciate them. Shirts, hoodies for kids. It was a big order. We got a pretty hefty commission, so thanks to whoever did that. We really appreciate it. And before we get into the comics news, just want to mention our Transformers live play RPG podcast, Empire of Rust. That's done by our editor and producer, Mike. Episode 34, Home is Where the Herd Is. That will be out this Monday, October 12th, so stay tuned for that. This week we had part 2 of Hell by Any Other Name, our side story featuring Jeremy and I. And we also had the uncut version of episode 33 that's exclusive for Donatreons. So lots of Empire of Rust content out now and coming your way next week. All right, let's get into comics news. First up, we do have a way to for you to purchase the Livio Ramondelli retailer exclusive variant of Transformers number 42. This is from Devil Dog Comics, and you can access this on their website. You can pre-order it from their website. You can get the Virgin variant, which has basically no text or anything on it, and it's just a cool image of Soundwave and all his minions. That is $19.95 for that issue, so it is a retailer exclusive, so they are going to charge you a little bit more for that. You've also got several different versions of this. So there's there's actually three covers of Soundwave. The two are just the first two are the same image, just with some different coloring, and then the third image is actually a different Soundwave image. And each of these are limited. The first two are limited to 1,000, and then the cover C is limited to 500 copies. So if you are interested, hopefully they're not sold out before this podcast goes up. So you can check that out at Devil Dog Comics. We'll have a link in the show notes. Looks like, these are just a cool. Livio Ramondelli is one of our favorite artists, and it's just a cool couple of images here.
That's
all right. Go ahead.
I was gonna say the second one is actually Sound Blaster, and he's got the Merc badge on his chest from
That's a good call.
Oh,
from the
yeah.
Siege line.
Good catch. You're right.
That's really cool. That's a nice little touch.
Next up, we've got some line art that Alex Milne has put out on Twitter for some of the pages of the Transformers versus the Terminator miniseries. So this is the Uncolored Line Art. You can check out everything. I think Alex really brought his A game for this series, and you can really see all the detail and work he put in with these images here. So these are a couple of selected pages from issue 3 and 4. We've already reviewed issues 1 through 3, and we're going to review issue 4 in this episode. So you'll hear what we thought of it, and we might have Alex back on the show to talk about all his work on this comic here. All right, that's all the comics news, so let's move on to our comic review.
All right. As Charles just said, this is Transformers vs. Terminator number 4. This was written by David Marriott and John Barber. Art by the aforementioned Alex Milne. Colors by David Garcia Cruz. Letters by Jake M. Wood. Editor is Tom Waltz. Assistant editor is Riley Farmer. There are 3 covers. Cover A has a shadowy look at Sarah Connor, Megatron, and the Terminator. And this is by Gavin Fullerton. Cover B has Optimus Prime and the Terminator with the world in balance, and this is by Billy Montfort. And the retailer incentive has looks kind of like Optimus is coming out of the head of the Terminator, and this is by Freddie E. Williams and Jeremy Caldwell. So, Dr. Pants, which one of the 3 do you like?
I really like cover A. It's going along with the theme of all the cover A's that have been going on with this series, and I think they kind of fit it with the whole kind of like darker theme that this series has had. Cover B is still pretty cool. I do like that one, a bit brighter, and I just kind of like the imagery. Although, it bothers me that Optimus doesn't have the white stripes on his chest, like his abs.
Oh, yeah.
But otherwise, that's a really cool cover, but I'm definitely going to stick with cover A. I like that style this series has had on those.
Awesome. Daryl, which one do you like?
I gotta tell you, I'm not a big fan of any of these covers. I don't know. Can I withhold my vote? Oh my goodness. I got cover B. That's the one I was given. It's I don't know. I mean, I guess cover B is fine, but I'm not super fond of cover A. Mainly because like I like the Megatron aspect of the top half, but the Terminator and the Sarah Connor aspect, I really don't like the way that was drawn. And then you said it was Fico Ossio, right? That's the who did the RI?
Gavin Fullerton.
Gavin Fullerton.
Oh, RI is Freddie E. Williams and Jeremy Caldwell.
Right, that's right. I just don't like that art style. It works for the Terminator, though, which is odd. It does not work for Optimus Prime. But I think it really works for the Terminator. So I guess I'm going to default to the one that I ended up getting, which is B. And it's really cartoony, and which doesn't really work for the Terminator one. I'm not a fan of any of these, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's understandable. They're all not the normal style that we're used to.
Looking back on it, this is the last issue of the miniseries. Did Alex only get to do one cover out of all of these things, and that was a B cover for issue 1? I don't think he did any others.
That might be right.
That's criminal. That's what that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Let's see. Andrew did a cover B on number 3.
Mm-hmm. And that was a really nice one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then Casey Collar did cover B on number 2. So it looks like Gavin Fullerton did all the A's, and Freddie E. Williams and Jeremy Caldwell did all the RIs. Number 1 had a ton of covers.
Yes, it did.
But yeah, it's like all the regular Transformer artists got stuck on cover B for all the other issues. And then this one, it was just Billy Montfort, which I think has done other IDW stuff. But, not one of the regular Transformer artists.
It might be that Alex didn't have time to do covers if he was busy with all the work in detail.
He'd make time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's weird that we don't see any of the other kind of regular Transformer artists work on this. But I wonder if there was like Dark Horse wanted some of their people on it too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Charles, which one did you like?
So I actually like the retailer incentive, the Freddie Williams one. I do agree that the Optimus Prime rendition is not the typical style we're used to, but I just like the juxtaposition there and how they blended the Terminator head with Optimus Prime. It feels like almost a MC Escher-esque and looks pretty seamless, so I like that.
All right. Well, the one I chose would be cover A. Just I agree with Dr. Pants. It fits the kind of mood, I think, of the story overall. But yeah, none of them are what we typically get with Transformers. All right. Well, on to the story. This is titled "Enemy of My Enemy" Part 4, where we picked up from last issue. Holding the humans from Cyberdyne Systems hostage, Starscream makes a deal with the Terminator. He offers for the Terminator to join him and destroy Megatron, and they'll both get what they want. The Terminator remembers Starscream's view of the Transformers from his future, and he deems the humans as expendable. So, knowing Starscream plans to betray him, he goes ahead and makes the deal. Inside the security shack, Sarah Connor is trapped, with Ravage stalking her. She tries to use the radio to call the Autobots at the Ark, but gets no response. In the battle, Bumblebee, Velocity, and RC are judging their odds against the Insecticons that have them trapped. Bumblebee and Velocity figure that they can take one each and let RC take the rest, but B notes that Soundwave is also heading their way. They feel like they're doomed when Soundwave suddenly leaves. He's heard Sarah Connor's broadcast, and he heads over to investigate and to take care of her. As he's going there, Soundwave realizes that Sarah can't get in touch with the Ark, so there's likely no Autobot reinforcements coming. However, before he's able to inform Megatron, Starscream blasts him through the chest. Ravage sees Soundwave being blasted, and Sarah takes advantage of him looking away to bust out of the shack with a handgun, and she tries to be tough with the cat. However, she's quickly put on her back with Ravage hovering over her. Holding him back by the pistol that she grabbed against the roof of his mouth, she pulls the trigger and kills him. RC is taking out Thundercracker and Skywarp, while Velocity and Bumblebee are working together to let Bombshell and Shrapnel take each other out. Sarah catches up with them and calls for help. The Terminator is damaged and stuck under Starscream. Before they could get to her, Starscream recovers and transforms, and he intends to blast both of them, but Soundwave spots them and blasts Starscream in the back. Seeing that the tide has turned, Starscream transforms and flies away, leaving Sarah and the Terminator to deal with Soundwave. They both let loose with their weapons, and they take out the already damaged Decepticon. When Bumblebee finally reaches them, Sarah lets them know about not being able to reach the Ark. The Terminator's legs were damaged from Starscream landing on him, so he asks Bumblebee to toss him so he can complete his mission. B tosses him to Velocity, who tosses him to RC, and then RC tosses him into a hole inside Megatron's chest. Then the Terminator destroys Megatron from the inside. Megatron defeated, the Autobots take the other Decepticons into custody. Bumblebee asks Sarah to join them, but she says that she should stay and help the human survivors. When they get back to Mount St. Hilary, the Autobots and the Decepticon prisoners see it destroyed. Optimus frees the Decepticons and asks them to live together in peace and secret as the last remaining Cybertronians on the planet. After some time has passed, Sarah Connor is working at the new Skywatch Corporation. She's promised to keep an eye on Bumblebee before she left, and she uses this position to do that. However, the Skywatch has a secret alpha base that is researching the corpse of Megatron to use in creating robotic drones and T-800 units as Megatron looks on in the video screen. So that is the end, I guess. It kind of leaves on that cliffhanger. I don't know. I feel like this didn't quite stick the landing as well as I'd hoped. I mean, I feel like the battle and stuff all was satisfactory, but not having the Terminator there to have, like when the Autobots found out about everyone that they cared about being destroyed. Kind of, I wish there was that confrontation. Other than that, I enjoyed this a lot. I feel like the art was just impeccable. It was like great throughout. I think specifically the panel where Sarah shoots Ravage, I think that's just kind of like a standout panel, and it's just two colors really, because it just she and Ravage are in shadow, and then the whole background being red. It just, I don't know, it's fantastic. So, I wish the ending was handled a little bit better on the writing side of things. But Dr. Pants, let's start with you. What do you think of this?
So I agree with you through the most part that the fight is done pretty well, and like that there's a nice conclusion to that, and it goes well. But once the fight concludes, I feel like they really rush through concluding everything and don't quite... Like, I feel like they're just trying to tie up the story just to get it tied up rather than do anything really important with it. Because when they go to Mount St. Hilary and kind of realize that everyone's dead, I feel like that's completely brushed off. And there's nothing to it, and that's really, really unsatisfactory. I wanted more to that. I wanted something to come out of that.
Yeah, the pacing... I don't know. Maybe the battle could have been shorter or something to give you the space, but they knew they weren't getting a 5th issue.
Yeah, and maybe it needed one. I don't know. Or like you said, the battle could have been shorter. But I did like the fight. The action is great. The artwork goes along with it so well, and like it's easy to see what's going on. It's so much action and so much fun. I'm really sad that Soundwave died because he's my favorite Decepticon. And to be taken down part by a Terminator and then a handgun? Come on. That's just silly. But the panel where she shoots Ravage, though, again, you're right. That's like one of the best panels. And I love that the gunshot goes through the word blam and shatters part of it. Just so good. Just so good. And yeah, everything was great. The battle between Megatron and Optimus is visceral and probably better than any fight we've gotten in a while between them. It's just the ending is really lackluster, and I feel like the Terminator's arc is really lackluster overall, and the whole book for the most part feels way more Transformers than Terminator, at least in this issue. But I still enjoyed it. It was a fun actiony ride, and I didn't mind taking it.
I'm looking forward to the inevitable sequel where the Terminator they won't trust it, but it's now completely good, trying to protect Sarah Connor.
Yeah.
Just following the Terminator movie line. Charles, what are your thoughts on this?
So I generally agree with what you guys are saying here. The ending does feel a bit rushed. But overall, I was happy with this issue. I mean, I think definitely the battle was awesome. I mean, all the fight scenes were really well choreographed. The art is awesome. I mean, Alex has brought his A game for this. The colors are great too. I think the whole thing was really well done and well executed, especially giving Sarah Connor a little moment to, she had a well thought out plan to take out Ravage, and we're lucky that you can take out a Transformer with a brain module and a spark. So those are two vulnerable areas, and she was lucky to get one. I mean, it
is more believable with Ravage than Soundwave.
Yeah. I mean, although Soundwave did have a pretty gaping hole in his chest, so I mean, at least the Terminator had a blaster weapon. I'd say that probably did more damage than the handgun to his spark. I really liked the one panel where Soundwave is hearing Sarah trying to send the message, and it's rendered as kind of literal sound waves. I really thought that was well done, and it has there's a little a sub panel that says no chance of a threat. So Soundwave's assessment of that. So I just thought that was really cool, and then you have Ravage as and the background as like kind of rendered in that Sonic visual style where it's like the like echolocation or something like that. I just really like that imagery there. I liked Starscream, of course, betraying Megatron as usual, and then this was a satisfying battle and a satisfying way to take out Megatron, and of course, Megatron never stays dead. So of course, at the end, you have to have that little ambiguous part where maybe the Terminator and Megatron were both fused into this computer system, and now they're infecting all the other the future Terminators being developed. So that's interesting. I wonder if I know that this in this particular issue it's not very satisfying, but I do like this as a setup for a future miniseries continuing this story. So for a Transformers versus Terminator 2. And I like giving Sarah Connor she making her become a member of Skywatch. The Autobots and Decepticons working together at the very end. I mean, that was unexpected to see Optimus Prime welcome the Decepticons with them. I mean, just given the fact that they were so few. But yeah, that's again, it does feel weird brushing off the destruction of the Ark and all their friends. But other than that, I thought it was a really, really good, really well done issue. I just wish they had a few more pages to properly deal with that plot point at the end.
All right. Well, Daryl, finish with you. You are one that likes the action, so you got plenty of it. So what are your thoughts on this book?
Damn right. This thing had a whole lot of action, and I enjoyed every single panel of it. The panel with Prime and Megatron coming through the wall was just amazingly drawn. I have to say the art in this is fan-freaking-tastic. One of the best books I've seen Alex do in such a long time. And I mean, he's unequivocally probably the best Transformers artist there is out there right now. And there's so many, great Transformers artists, but we know that Alex is phenomenal. So the parts that I believe Dr. Pants mentioned about the blam, like the bullet going through the blam, and then Charles mentioning the stuff with the Sonics and the words in the Sonics, like that's all Alex, right? Like that has nothing to do with the letterer Jake M. Wood. That's Alex, taking the lettering and into his own hands and saying, I'm gonna do the sound effects here because I know what they need to look like. And
well, it's essentially part of the art.
It's a part of the art. Yeah. He's, he needs it to look a certain way. And instead of trying to, tell the letterer what he wants it to look like, he's, just like, what, fuck it, I'm going to do it myself. And I love it when he does stuff like that because it's just fantastic. The story, I agree. I really wanted them to kind of get kind of freaked out. Like they arrived back to the base and it's just like, oh no. And then they're like, oh, well, we'll carry on in their memory. And, that's about it. You get back and they lost all the guys that were down anyway. Like we saw Windblade was down, Grimlock was down, and a few others were down. Jazz was down, I think. And then we had all the guys that were still up. Wheeljack and Ratchet were up fixing everybody. And then that's like they're not going to even try to find anything. Like they don't even know what happened.
Well, I mean, the Terminator kind of left a clue when Velocity was like, I don't think I can repair you. And he's like, you wouldn't have the tools even if you could. And then she put it together when they were at the where the Ark was. She was like, this is why he said I didn't have the tools. So, I mean, they know who did it.
Yeah, well, Thundercracker doesn't know. He couldn't figure it out.
Well, I mean,
yeah.
Thunder.
But either way, it's kind of it's a piss poor way to end the book, and again, that has nothing to do with the artist. This is all kind of the way the book is written. And you got to remember, we're dealing with a rookie writer here too, right? This is, what's his name?
David Marriott.
Yeah, the editor, David Marriott, and Tom Waltz. David Marriott, I believe he's taking top billing, so it's his kind of, he's probably doing the majority of the lifting on this, right? And John Barber, is kind of making sure it all is working together, and Tom Waltz is in there too. Like 3 writers on this, or 2 writers, 3 story people. I mean, the credits on this is confusing. So, the landing was going to be, it was going to have an issue anyway. But I think they did a pretty good job. It's definitely set up for a continuation, right? If they never did continue it, they could end it here too, right? But we can definitely see how it's set up for a continuation. And I, for one, cannot wait. I want it next month.
Yeah. I mean, and dealing with the 2 publishing companies, and the different licensing and stuff, this one was never going to be as clean as, say, the Ghostbusters one, where IDW has the licenses, they have all the contacts, it's a little bit easier. So it's, I think all things considered, this was a pretty successful crossover. It was fun, just little nitpicks here and there.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, well, any other comments on this or the whole series before we wrap it up? We'll take that as a no. All right, well, that is our review of Transformers vs. the Terminator number 4.
All right, and we will move on to media news.
All right, in media news this week, not a lot. Not a lot. We've got Transformers Fan Forge. It's an official fan art contest. And this one here is open to everyone internationally, which is a huge surprise to me because I didn't think Hasbro knew other countries existed. So yeah, if you're out there and you know how to draw or paint, or it's an art contest.
If you can art.
If you can art. Yeah, exactly. Good. Well done. Then art something up and submit it to the Transformers Fan Forge site. It is they've got their own site. You can definitely go onto their website here and do the submission process and do that and see how it goes. I know we've got some really talented artists in the Discord. We know we have K-Girl, who is a fantastic artist and has helped us out a lot. We know Third Sergio is also a really talented artist. And I'm sure there's others. Winston Chan. Oh, yeah, he does official stuff too. So, and we've got, there's a couple others that I'm probably forgetting the names of. But if you're a Transformers artist and you listen to the show regularly and you submit a piece of art, I'm sure we'd love to see it too. So yeah, do that. The only other thing we have in media news this week is that Renegade Game Studios extends their partnership with Hasbro and G.I. Joe and My Little Pony. This sounds like business news, Jeremy. I don't. This is a.
I was ready for this.
This was a businessy business thing. So why don't you business this up for us?
All right. Some people can art. I can business. This is they're actually extending their partnership and adding G.I. Joe Transformers and My Little Pony. They currently have a Power Rangers game, and this is like, I'm not sure exactly what the Power Rangers game is, but their games are like, they'll have like the miniatures and just different types of games, and this might be why the trading card game ended, because the Power Rangers is a deck building game. So maybe this, we saw recently some miniatures from what was the company? WizKids. So maybe that's all a sign of where this is going to be going. We're going to, new deck building game, maybe new game that takes advantage of miniatures. I mean, think about what Mike could do if he actually had more like official miniatures and doing an Empire of Rust with those. That'd be kind of cool. We don't have any more details right now. All we know is like there's going to be a Power Rangers role-playing game that's compatible with D&D 5th edition and a deck building game for Power Rangers. All the other stuff are going to be announced, it says, in the coming months. There's a link to sign up for a newsletter, which I signed up and I've not gotten the confirmation. So I don't know. Maybe it'll work. Maybe it won't. But I'm looking forward to seeing where this will go, because tabletop and role-playing games, that's very popular, and we haven't really seen much official Transformers stuff in that area outside of the trading card game that just ended.
Cool. All right. Well, we'll look to see what happens then. And I guess that does it for media news.
All right, and we will finish up the show with feedback. All right, first up, we've got an email from friend of the show, our masterpiece Onatreon, John 4X Levengood. So, John writes, "Hey guys, sorry, no voicemail today. I'm in public. However, I wanted..."
Doesn't he know there's a pandemic?
Come on, John. What the hell?
However, I wanted to say a little about my views on Transformers Battlegrounds. I do think the graphics aren't top-notch. I am a fan of the XCOM games, and this looks similar to one of those. I had played a Transformers strategic game like Final Fantasy Tactics for mobile in the late 2000s and had a great time with it. And as such, I know that if done right, a Transformers strategic game can be a blast. I will leave final judgment till I have a chance to play it. I think it might be a fun game. Thanks again, and keep up the good work. Yeah, so I have not really gotten into the strategy games, so I might pass on this one, but it should be out pretty soon. I think it's coming out this month, so John, you'll have to report back and let us know what you think of this game, and give us your endorsement or tell us to avoid it, whichever one as appropriate.
I look forward to your review, John, in a voicemail.
Yeah, stay out of public. You don't want to get sick.
Yep.
I didn't know Battlegrounds was a strategy game.
I didn't know either. I was just gonna say it just looked like you run around and pick up little trinkets and trade them with your friends, like all dumbass Nintendo Switch games are.
Wow. As a Switch fan, I am offended. How
but
dare
am I
you,
wrong?
Sir?
Am I wrong?
Yes, you're wrong.
You are very wrong.
Yeah. Oh my God. I played.
First of all, it's not even a Switch exclusive. It's on everything.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'd be better on PS4.
Blah blah blah. PS4.
The comments of Daryl don't necessarily speak for the rest of transmissions.
I mean, can we please not get into a console war here? Console wars are.
I mean, everyone knows PC's the best anyway.
Don't get me started.
I was gonna say.
Don't get me started.
I was gonna say console wars are almost as dumb as PC versus Mac wars, which is almost as dumb as an Android versus iPhone war.
Sorry, we started talking about video games. I felt really in my element for a moment, so it brought out some of the worst in me. But I did want to say, like, if this is a strategy game, I was a little turned off because it's Cyberverse, and I don't quite like the designs of it, but I'm a big strategy guy, and I kind of want to try this out now just to see what it's like. So thanks, John, for letting me know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess this would be similar. Like, he mentioned XCOM, so that's probably what it would be similar to. And then there's also the, the Mario versus Rabbids. That's also on Switch, which is a similar strategy game. So if it's something like that, maybe it's fun.
Yeah, maybe I'll give it a shot if I have time.
All right, we got a second email, which was it's a little bit long, so I think I'm going to skim and summarize here. But thank you, Brent, for writing in. And Brent writes in to tell us about 3 myths of Transformers fandom that he has seen quite a bit of and wants to dispel those myths. But he does state these are his opinions, so it's not a fact or anything like that. But it's interesting because the first myth, and he does actually he wrote back later to say, well, this myth is more like just a prevalent fan opinion he sees, so not quite a myth, but the idea is that a lot of folks think the Dinobots shouldn't combine, and he's heard lots of people say that the Dinobots shouldn't combine and that the new combiner is not good. They should just stay just regular dinosaurs, and he doesn't like that because, when the Dinobots fought Devastator, they always get beat up by Devastator because Devastator is a combiner. So the Dinobots should combine so they can match power with the other combiners. And so, yeah, he's like, he says, we may not like the execution of Volcanicus, the new Dinobot combiner, the more recent Dinobot combiner, but his existence is necessary. So that is the first quote unquote myth. The second myth related to myth one is that the Dinobots are badasses and powerful Autobot warriors, the most powerful Autobot warriors. But in a lot of the fiction, they get beat up regularly, so they're a bunch of high priced jobbers, is how he puts it. I think this is just to editorialize. I think this is kind of the Worf effect. If anyone has watched Star Trek: The Next Generation, Worf is always proposed as like the badass Klingon warrior, but then whenever there's a threat, to show how bad this threat is to the Enterprise, they always have Worf fight it and then lose, so that it seems like, if the threat is so big that it can beat Worf, it must be a really bad threat. So I think that's the same effect you see with the Dinobots, is that the Dinobots are presented as badass warriors, but then you have your big bad villain beat up the Dinobots, and that shows how bad they are.
Okay, so now I want to hear Greg Berger say, like, Devastator is without honor.
But yeah, I mean, but the point Brent was making, that's, yeah, the Dinobots are badasses, but why does everyone beat them up? In the comics, particularly Shockwave and Megatron can beat the Dinobots single-handedly. Even Scorponok beats up Grimlock in the IDW comics. So that's
Shockwave has no choice. He has to beat him single-handedly.
Oh, terrible. Where's your rim shot? Did you play the rim shot?
I did.
Yeah. Jeremy, you're terrible. And finally, the third myth he points out is that Michael Bay saved the Transformers franchise with the live action movies, and he says this is bullshit. He says anyone could have directed those movies and done a much better job, and they would have been successful just because of the nostalgia factor and the Transformers brand name. It's not Star Wars, but let's not downplay its pop culture significance, especially with Generation X. So those are Brent's declarations about the myths of Transformers fandom. Generally, so for the Dinobot Combiner thing, I am generally a fan of them not combining, not for any particular reason. I just like the Dinobots as regular dinosaurs, and I think the combiner, at least the combiner figure we got, made a lot of compromises with the individual Dinobot characters. So their sizes were a little bit off, and their alt modes were a little bit off, just to make up for the fact that they combined to engineer in the combined mode. So but it's fine. I think it's I'm not against people liking the Dinobot Combiner, so enjoy that. And yeah, I mean, he makes a lot of good points about the Dinobots getting beat up in a lot of different fictions. I mean, we just had Transformers 84 where Shockwave beat the Dinobots again, so I mean, I can see where he's coming from, but oh well. And yeah, I'm not a fan of the Michael Bay take on Transformers, but I don't know if it's if anyone could have executed that, or if I don't know if it's. I'm sure we would love to have had a different director. I mean, we had Travis Knight come in with the Bumblebee movie. If he had gotten to put to put his spin on Transformers back in the day. Maybe but I don't even know if he how old he is, if he was around in 2007 or able to do that. But I think we can't all lay everything at Michael Bay's feet. I mean, he didn't do the art designs for the Transformers in the 2007 movie. I think there were a lot of cooks in the kitchen then, so I don't know. You know, a lot of people seem to think that the original aesthetic for the Transformers was too cartoony, quote unquote, and they had to make it edgy or something. I don't know. So yeah, I agree that I would have rather had a more like a closer to the original designs in the movie, and you know, a little bit more focus on story and having a coherent story and focusing on the Transformers as characters. I think we've had all these complaints before, and maybe it probably, you know, would have done just as well at the box office. So we wouldn't have, you know, these are things you can only speculate about and can't really go back and experiment to see what would have happened. So, but yeah, so thanks, Brent, for writing in, and you made some interesting points. So we'll see if other folks agree with you. Dr. Pants, any thoughts on Brent's comments?
In terms of the Dinobot Combiner, I don't hate the idea. I'm not a fan of Volcanicus as the Combiner, just because, like you said, they compromised the original figures because they had to combine, and Volcanicus design, like, the shoulders are so weird and it throws me off. I wouldn't mind a Dinobot Combiner if it was done well. What's the third-party one that hit? Was it Shuriken? I can't remember. It's old. But...
yeah, I believe that's right. Yeah, that's the name. Yep. Yeah,
like that one I think looks really, really cool, and I think it could be done well. So I'm not completely against it. I'm just not a big fan of Volcanicus. Of course, that new Takara Tomy Mall one looks a lot better aside from the shoulders. The Dinobots getting their butts kicked. I think the whole thing with they're called badasses is because they were created to fight Devastator. Wasn't that the whole reason they built them? My G1 knowledge is a little sketchy.
No.
Well, I mean, in the cartoon, Wheeljack was just like, "Hey, look at what I did."
Okay.
Yeah, in the cartoon, the Spike taught the Autobots about dinosaurs, and they were like, "Hey, let's make robot dinosaurs," and they did. And then they said, "Of course, when we make robot dinosaurs, we should make them as dumb as real dinosaurs and give them small brains for reasons." That's why.
Okay, never mind. Yeah, I don't know where it comes from. The only thing I could think of is I believe it's in the War Within comic. There's a shot of Grimlock saying, "Me, Grimlock, badass." And that's the only instance I could think of where it's even, like, just said how badass they are. Other than, you know, they're the go-to, like, fighters for the Autobots. But, I mean, no, they get handed to them. It doesn't bother me. The third myth I take issue with because Brent's right. Anybody could have directed those movies, but the fact of the matter is everybody attributes it to Michael Bay because he's the one who did it. The logic in his myth is a little thrown off, and it didn't the live action movies help to boost the franchise and make it a bit more popular so that it came back as full force as it did?
Definitely. I mean,
it infused money.
Yeah.
For one thing. And then it was just the popularity, like it was, you know, as popular as Dreamwave Comics were, the movies were just a mass audience.
Right. So it's not a myth that the Michael Bay movies, as we'll call them, helped the franchise and really kept it alive. I mean, I agree that somebody else could have directed it and made a better movie, because the first one's not bad, but after that they're garbage. But then again, like, I teach teenagers, and I get into arguments with them over how bad these movies are because they think they're so great. So maybe Michael Bay was the right choice, because you have a bunch of... Oh, I'm going to feel bad saying this. You have a bunch of normies.
You have a bunch of little Eric Crownovers that love the movies.
Exactly. So they love them. It's just us old fogies, I guess, who aren't real happy with it, but... Whatever. Everyone's got their opinions. I'm glad with the Generation stuff we have, and the Travis Knight movie. I like Bumblebee, so.
Mm-hmm. Daryl, any thoughts on these three myths?
Well, Just the, I mean, as far as the Michael Bay could have, don't blame Michael Bay. Anyone could have directed it. Generally, I say it's, I like to just say that the live action movies save the Transformers franchise. So I don't lay it all at Michael Bay's feet. He was just the director, so that's just who it gets laid on. But the fact that they existed is what brought them all back into the forefront of culture, right? As far as the Dinobot Combiner, I'm with you. I don't need to have it exist. I always found that the team of Dinobots worked very well as a squad, and just because they're a good team doesn't mean they have to combine. You can have a really good team of warriors that can, work well together, but not actually combine together, because when you're combined into one giant thing, then you become a very large target, and generally get beaten much quicker. But if you're small and agile and you can still maneuver quickly and have, essentially battle plans or plays that, get you to win, things. But then, being a combiner really is just you being just bigger and stronger than everything else. So I'm very much fond of having the Dinobots stay as just an elite battle unit. Yeah. Other than that, as far as the other one where it's just the Dinobots just take it and they get beat up all the time, that's I chalk that up to plot being a plot device at the time. It's they need to be the ones that get their ass kicked because the book or the episode or the whatever the hell it is about the opponent at the time, and they need to look bigger and badder, and so they need to kick the ass of something that's strong. And hey, the Dinobots are pretty strong, so let's kick their ass.
All right, and Jeremy, we'll end it with you. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I kind of added my 2 cents here and there, but yeah, I don't know. I've always been intrigued by Dinobot Combiners, but the execution on the official side, like everyone said, it wasn't that good. In my opinion, it was a little bit too gangly kind of looking. The Dinobots are they're like tanks, but the combined mode just wasn't. It needed to be more stout feeling. But then on the movies saving the franchise, I mean, the franchise wasn't going to die. I don't think it was on its deathbed, but it was a huge infusion of cash and publicity. So, I mean, we're definitely in a better place now than we would be had the movies not happened. And, like Daryl said, it's not all Michael Bay. Paramount, even Steven Spielberg, who was executive producer, had a lot to do with that.
All right. Well, thanks, Brent, for writing in, and hope we gave you some interesting feedback for your comments. So thanks again, and keep listening. All right. I think that will do it for this episode of Transmissions Alt Mode. Dr. Pants, why don't you tell everyone where they can find your stuff on the internet?
Thank you, Charles. You can find me and a bunch of my friends on Nerdstradamus on YouTube. We have a website, nerdstradamus.com. We do a lot of gaming, things like that on there. We do music videos also. You can find us on all the social media. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We're Nerdstradamus everywhere, except for Twitter. We're Nerdstradamus DL for down low. And you can find me on Twitter as DrPants1412. And, I'm typically doing the robot thing, mostly Transformers and Gundam stuff, so you can find me there. And if you're interested, because it's October, on the Nerdstradamus YouTube channel, we'll be playing some scary games all month. So if that's your thing, come check us out as we freak ourselves out. So, yeah, that's it.
All right. And before we go, we have to give a shout out to our Masterpiece Donatreon, John 4X11 Good. Thank you for continuing to support the show. And we are looking for your next voicemail. Thanks, John. And that will do it for this episode of Transmissions Alt Mode. Thanks, everyone, for listening, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Later.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for listening to this episode of Transmissions. But just because this episode is over doesn't mean the Transformers fun has to stop. Join us and other Transformers fans on our Discord chat server by visiting transmissionspodcast.com/discord. If you would like to learn more about how you could support the Transmissions Podcast, just visit transmissionspodcast.com/support. Thank you all for listening, and we'll see you again next week.
Yep.
Now recording.
Get out of here, Craig. No one likes you.
I'm sure Craig likes Craig.
He doesn't count.
Oh, and by the way, Charles, he's Lambo just because that's what his students call him, because his last name kind of sounds like that.
Oh, okay.
So he doesn't like have a car.
No, he does not have a Lamborghini. He is not a big Transformers fan, so no.
All right. I just remembered the Japanese name is Lambor, so it doesn't even make sense. Anyway.
Who's going to catch you on that?
Good thing we weren't recording anything.